sheet metal has come, so it is time to square up the frame on the jack stands and move on with the next level of repair work, which involves cutting panels away. This video you're going to watch, it covers the time frame from after I tore the car apart to now, when the sheet metal has arrived and I have to move on to other stuff. So I've made some decent progress with rust repair. Kept finding things I needed to fix, and as I keep going and cutting away, I keep finding things. I suspect when I start cutting out the floorboards that it'll be a whole new round of things. But as it is, I hope you enjoy this video. I'd like to give a shout out to some of the people who I've been gleaning information from, like 68 Mustang Restoration, Grease Rookie Garage, Fitzy's for welding tips. I need as much welding help as I can get. And of course, Barry for all his really good advice. Anyway, hope you enjoy the video, and I will catch you on the other end when it's done. This is my tool that I just created. So here's what my finished tool looks like. A concaved curving with it's a compound curve. It's got more curve here, it's a little flatter here, so that I could work all of these angles on this piece. So I can just put that in there, see, and then hammer on it to make the curve. See? And the slot holds the flange square. So it allows me to work this. I didn't end up having to do some relief cuts. I was ending up with a little bit too much metal in here. But you can see as I'm going along, because it wants to stay straight, I'm actually rolling more metal down towards the bottom, and it gets thinner at the top. So you got to start out with a piece that's bigger than you want on both dimensions, and then as you shape it, it rolls the metal one way or the other. Then if you don't undershoot, then you end up with enough flange there to make the whole thing work. And it looks pretty good. I think it's going to work. Well, I'm working on making my new lip for the floor, and you can see it's getting pretty close. I need a little more arc here. So you can see how it's coming along. Not bad. See, this lip is completely rusted out there. And you can tell even when they formed it, it cupped, just like mine did right there along here. That panel cupped too when it was stamped. You know, I'm half tempted just to leave the other lip there and then just weld it all together. Not even cut the old lip out. Just leave this as a reinforcement to the other one. I don't know. I could put it on the underneath side. Let's check that. Putting it on the back side and leaving the other lip there. And just using it as reinforcement for the original panel. Trim it up here so that this slides in next to the frame without interference. And then just weld it all in. That's an interesting idea. I may consider that. I made a tool to make this, and it would be dishonest of me to tell you that, yeah, first time out with my test piece, worked really great. However, on my original piece, it's the wrong side. This fits the left side instead of the right side because I did it backwards. And that's what happens when I don't pay attention. It's a perfect piece that doesn't work for what I need. But hey, the tool works. I am draining the fuel out of the tank. I've decided that I'm going to take the fuel tank out because it's going to make welding all this stuff easier. Besides, I don't feel like blowing myself up today. I wanted to do this, patch this hole in where the electric fuel pump used to be. And I also did a stupid thing when I was young. And in order, before I come over here and I start welding where it's rusty and thin and has pinholes in it, I want to be able to fill those and weld in the reinforcement without just blowing holes in the body over and over again. So I'm practicing over here to see if I can get it mastered, which of course I probably won't. So here you can see I'm working on I'm doing the Fitzy cut and butt. It's working pretty well, kinda. Basically the metal is flush. This piece actually overlapped that piece, and I'm cutting at an angle with a 16th inch or 32nd inch grinder. And so when I get it closed up, if I do it right, see, like right there, the metal is flush, right? Well, come on, light, stay. There we go. The metal is flush right here, and it's completely butted because of the angle. Unfortunately, I'm welding along, everything is doing fine, and then all of a sudden it just blows through. I mean, just without warning. Did it over here too, and I can tell the weld sounds different when I'm doing it. You know, it's bzz, 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 I'm going along, and when I hit the spot, I don't know, there's this whole other arc sound, which is like a steady pop, and it just, before I can get my finger off the trigger, it's blown a great big hole like that, and I haven't figured out what's causing that. I looked into this quite a bit. Finally, I did see what was going on. It was caused by a lack or a loss of connection to the wire. So either the connection at the tip was lost or the connection from the end of the wire to the work was lost. The arc starts at the tip inside the gun, travels down the wire because it's the path of least resistance, melts the entire length of the wire, and then blows the hole in the work. To combat that, I was clipping the end of the wire after every weld, and periodically, and that means like every couple of dozen welds, I would make sure that the tip was clean. Oh boy. Anyway, that sort of minimized it, but in frustration, you can see I went to my TIG welder to finish the welding. And it went pretty well, although it's adding more heat into the panel, and I ended up with a little warpage. That part wasn't good. This Fitzy method worked pretty well, although what I should have done was started at the bottom and worked up, because there's a curve there. So it didn't quite fit the way it was supposed to, but my bad. It's been a long day, but it's in there. So that's what it looks like after TIG. Here's the bottom side. I didn't dress it near as much as I could have if I was really worried about it. You know, I could get down here with the sanding disc and dress this off. I may still, I don't know. It looks pretty good. You know, once it's got undercoat on it, it's not a big deal. I've been working on the wheel well. So this is what I've got done. I've got my little patch all ready to weld in. I haven't done it yet, but I'm about to start. Made a reinforcement for the underside of the floor, welded that in, and then took the welder and went along, and right at the bend it was rusted and the flange was broken loose, and so I just went along and I welded the whole ridge there so it has a whole new edge to it. Made some repairs down in here, and in lieu of getting this all straightened out, and that's what it looks like. And on the underside, it looks like this. So as you can see, I've got an extra little curl right there. I don't know if I'm going to weld that or not, but I'm going to seal that in to help stop the leaks up in here that were there before. And as you can see, it's all fit in there, ready to weld. In order to get my piece shaped, I have shaped it for yet another tool. This thing has come in extremely handy. I think I said this before, but it ain't pretty, but it's in there. So all that's left to do is just trim this off the same length as the other is this. Put that little curl in it that sheds the water, and there you have it. There is another oddity with this car though that really surprised me, and that is this. There's brass spot weld on the bottom of this quarter. And so then my question is this quarter panel been replaced? Because that doesn't make any sense at all, unless a snow chain or something broke loose and beat the holy bejesus out of the bottom of this thing, and they took it in to get it fixed or something. But that's news to me. Here's what it looks like on the inside. You can see I didn't get 100% penetration on all the welds. Pretty close, but not quite. Well, hello. Today's update. This morning, last night, I must have had a valve malfunction on my tank of argon. I had 1,000 pounds of argon last night when I shut everything down, and I always close off the tanks when I'm through welding. And this morning, 0. Tank completely empty, and the valve was closed. So I have no idea. There have been times when I could hear it, and I was thinking that maybe it was coming out around the shaft of the valve. Anyway, they, since how I bought that tank just a week ago, they gave me one for nothing to replace it. But I also bought a tank of 75 argon, 25 CO2, and wow, what a difference in welding. Better penetration, flatter welds, unbelievable the difference. So now I've got a brand new tank of argon for the TIG and a 75-25 for the MIG. And welding seems to be going along pretty darn well. And I also, when I was cleaning inside the quarter panel, my wire brush knocked a hole through the inner wheel well there. So you can see I put a patch on it. Another thing that's really weird, the gaps, I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to light it from the bottom. There. Look at how much gap there is between the wheel well and the floor. I mean, there's just great big 1/8-inch gaps all the way up. I haven't got all the sealer dug out. There's a spot where it's spot welded, but in between there is just a big hole, and some of them have sealer in them, and some of them have rust. Very frustrating. That's the kind of thing I'm finding. It's Saturday, May 29th. And I'm out here working on the Mustang again. Let me show you a few things that I found. Digging around, looking, just taking more sealer out and cleaning up back here, and I see that. Underneath the plug and the sealer, the floor is rusted. What I'm doing is making a replacement. So basically, I used a socket and a little piece of pipe that I had turned for another purpose, and this was the leftover stuff. I just rounded the edge so that it would give a nice radius right there. So this radius would bend right in there. And that's what I ended up with. So all I got to do is cut it to size on the outside, cut a hole in the middle, weld it in. Well, the patch is in. Although it's running in customer delete mode, as somebody posted on my video and Joe Daddy's cleaning up around the fuel tank, and what do I see? Oh yeah, look, rust holes, more patches to do. So still no sheet metal, so I am continuing to work on replacement of patches. Here I got my patch all set up for the rusty fuel tank. So, looks like it's going okay. There it is, all tacked in.
Really appreciate your input. And I assume I answered Ed's question.
A little interruption to my work.
Great gun, and that was the gun button. Again,
I haven't been filming my welding and grinding and stuff, only because I found that even though I've got the camera in an inconspicuous place, there were pieces of metal stuck in the lens of the camera. I picked out, I guess scraped off, the metal particles with a fresh X-Acto knife, but you know, that lens, you can see everywhere one of those things landed on the lens because the coating is no longer there, the anti-refraction coating. Anyway, just a note, I need to get some kind of a sacrificial cover that doesn't blur the video too much, but will save the camera. I was plugging holes in the back of the trunk here where, right here, where there was, my electric fuel pump was mounted in, I had large holes with rubber grommets in it. And so I held the plug in place with a neodymium magnet. And you can't weld with a magnet in the neighborhood. I didn't know that. Just hold on a minute there, Don. Basic physics, yep, electrons flowing, there's a magnetic component. It just wouldn't do anything. Now, I didn't try turning the magnet around to see if the opposite polarity would help. It may have, but that's pretty interesting. I didn't know that the magnetic field would screw it up that much. But yeah, I couldn't weld in the general area. It was welding just like I was trying to weld zinc plating or something. I finished everything back here. Have this patch here, this patch here, that patch there, that patch there, and over here, by using a big hammer in that 20-ton jack, I managed to get this whole thing straightened out over here so the bumper will mount up properly. And I had to re-weld my bracket because I tore the weld out at the back here when I was rolling that back in. I also had to weld up some holes over here, tack the panel back in. It was attached with brass which had broken, so I went ahead and welded it. And of course, the wheel well is all patched and the wheel well is all straightened, and this whole panel, all this stuff is all pulled back into alignment and made right. Yay. I welded up this corner right here and got the bottom of that quarter all welded up, and you can see I've got it, let me straighten you out, got it treated with OSPO so the rust is starting to turn black and it's etching the bare metal. So I got that done, and I got that treated with OSPO as well as in here. Did some cleaning up, got some OSPO working on it so that I can get some primer and sealer in there. That's it for today. You know, I do all this welding and grinding and pounding and whatnot, and then I go to sweep up and I slice my fingers.